Well, what
about
happens if they ignore you?
just think about what he does if he ignores us. Just think about what it does. We have an open court case that has not been challenged. It's been open now for 4 or 5 months. We've been filing papers for 4 or 5 months. We have hundreds of papers in the court right now. Okay, we have all kinds of cases coming through the court. We have a judicial process. It's the law. We quote the law, which the code requires.
Well,
Statutory.
I know
Listen,
it's
the
the law.
statutory process requires the court to acknowledge a default. They're breaking the law right there in the court. That puts the flesh of that person who is administrating on the line. He's got to either recuse himself and get out, and someone else has to come in and sign that paper. And who are they going to find? This is the problem that they have. Meanwhile, we're giving him exposure, to the president, to the attorney general, to the people, and it's sealed in a court case. And they're stuck. They don't even know what to do. They cannot, and they will default over and over and over. We will win by default constantly because they cannot answer the questions or the statements that we make. In order to do so, they would be subverts on the record, and that's a problem. This is the pressure that must build up and build up and build up, and of course, critical mass works alongside it. We've been in this since the end of 2012. We created the process. The Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury started to build it in throughout the states. We started here in New York back at the end of 2012. It's 2017, and from that point to this point, again, we've got name recognition. Very few people in the liberty movement haven't heard of us. Most people have heard of us. We get a lot, like I said, we get a lot of people coming to the site, and we have a large membership. And we have people who are involved working day and night to do what has to be done. This isn't just done by a couple of people. We have lots of people across this nation working to get this process into the courts.
Hey.
We will succeed. We'll keep building up and building up. At some point in time, it's going to break, and the courts will be flooded with justice instead of the injustice that's flowing through it now.
What John means when he says we put that judge's flesh on the line, when he breaks the law, when he breaks the Constitution and violates the Constitution and the people's rights, we don't just let him do that. We take a case out against him and add him to the case. We sue him, and he has to answer that. And if he doesn't answer that, then that means we have no courts. If they say we're not going to go with the Constitution and we're not going to answer, and we're completely gutting this process, well, then go get your gun because it's revolution time. You see, they're not willing to say that yet. I mean, they're close.
That's where we almost are. That's almost
that's
where
right.
we are.
But if Hillary would have got in, we would have been there. If Hillary Clinton was in there, it would have been over. But right now, it's not. And we need brave people to say, look, we're going to take you back through here. We're going to sue you personally. We're going to take criminal charges on you. And we're not asking them. We're getting a jury of his peers, and we're going to explain everything when we take him into court. We're going to say, here's what the Constitution says. Here's what court procedure says. Now you decide, jury, what do you do with this judge? Look, people are fed up. If we can get true, untainted juries, they're done. They're over, and they know it.
Well, the defaults are in effect ignoring you. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. Is they're saying you.
Not in this court case yet. Not in this court case yet. They have not been ignored here.
Right.
And that's not true because we did an IRS case, okay, and ultimately they defaulted. They really couldn't respond to anything we had to say, and we know what happened in the back room. The judge went over to the U.S. attorney, talked to him, and said, "Make this case disappear," because there's no other way they could have gone with it.
Exactly.
Okay, and he wanted to get his flesh off the line, and that's the key. Look, we're going after the individual in charge at all times. When we have these non-judicial foreclosures, for instance, even though no judge will put their name on it, guess what? Every court has a chief judge, someone in charge. That's the guy we go after. We put his flesh on the line. And if you read our papers on the non-judicial foreclosures, which we'll start posting up today or tomorrow, we've got, I think, 6 or 7 cases going in right now. We got many, many behind that coming also. But that's exactly what we're doing, is going after the chief judge in charge of that court, allowing this kind of paperwork to go through his court system, okay, which is his court, which he's in charge of,
Now, we've heard a lot about the court of public opinion, which goes along the lines of critical mass and grassroots. And have you, whenever a president, wants to get the people behind him, it goes to the court of public opinion. They go out, they put on their talks, they go walk. Is there anything like that similar to what you folks are doing in terms of, you got some pretty good traction with the press? I know that probably the mainstream press is not going to back you, but have you got a way to get the word out beyond just your website? Is there a way to get the court of public opinion behind you?
Yeah, there are lots of web-based news outlets like yourself, or blogs, and network radios over the web. We could do interviews and things of that nature, and they call us back often, and so we go out on interviews and get the message out that way. We have been sending out literally to 6,000-7,000 news outlets across the nation. We don't know if any of those people have, picked up our story and ran with it on local levels. But we were faxing a lot of information out to those individuals and emailing. We've also went through all of the mainstream media, which none of them have reported on us. They stay away from us like the plague. But that's okay. At some point in time, it's got to break. And look, we have a default on the gun issue right here in New York. They defaulted, which means right now, as it stands, every gun law in New York is null and void. Right now, at this very moment, we're filing the papers with the court. We're sending a copy to the president, also to Jeff Sessions, and also to the 3 individuals in Congress who we spoke about. We're going to send a copy to them. And we're also going to send it out to all the news media to see what they're going to do with this particular issue, because this is the first gun case that's come up, and they defaulted. Why did they default? They couldn't even respond to our paperwork in any way. If you read our papers, you'll understand they can't respond. It's too powerful. But they haven't responded in any way. So that's a default, and that's a situation this magistrate's going to have to deal with.
This
Either that or
recording
he's going to have
is
to resign his position.
this recording is being recorded by the NLA News. We're trying to get that up and going and moving with videos.
Yeah, we recently got onto social media, which we never done before in the past. This past year, we really opened up to Facebook and a bunch of the other ones. We're putting in NLA News, which we're going to be able to live stream. We're going to have people, doing different stories out on the street as they break. We need some alternative. I mean, look, at YouTube is good for what it's good for, but when you start making a difference, they start playing with you. They defund you, they do this, they do that, they take your stuff down. But they've done it so much to so many people, and there's so many whistleblowers out there right now breaking their backs, and there's alternatives. They're fed up. So there's these alternative companies that are coming. Now, what's it going to take to break into YouTube? Well, I'm going to tell you what. It's not going to take too much at this point, because the more they mess with the people, the more willing they're going to be willing to go to these other. Look, I could put my stuff on YouTube, and I could put it on an alternative tube. And if YouTube keeps taking it down and the alternative tube keeps running it, what are the people going to do? They're going to go to the one that has the story. Because what's YouTube going to have? YouTube's going to have a bunch of baloney that doesn't mean anything, right? So they're the snake eating their tail. They're their own worst enemies. By the more they try to control us, and the more egregious they get, the more they fall down, and they start eating their own people. Even, the courts are doing that. They're putting, the courts are so vicious that they don't have enough brains not to attack the people that are working in the courts, and that's what they're doing now, because everybody is touched by this system now. So I think we are very close to this critical mass that you talk about, and I think it's going to grow exponentially. And it's a domino. When the first domino falls, they're all going to start falling one after the other. Boom, boom, boom. Look at all these people in the whole Clinton Foundation and all that, and the Bushes too. Let's not forget the Bushes. Those 2 guys, I think they're related. If they're not, they should be.
They are. They're related through their elitism.
That's right.
But go ahead.
And what you're going to see is when one of them goes down, I think they all got their bags packed right now. They're all ready to hit the tarmac running, believe me, because the writing's on the wall. Because they've gotten so arrogant and so out of touch with the people, and they think that they can do whatever they want. And what they're finding out is there's roadblocks every place they go. There's stuff coming up. Their own people are turning against them. You have people like Mike Gill and George Webb. We got people coming out of the DNC that worked for Hillary, and they said, she gave me this BlackBerry, and I was doing this, that. I didn't understand. She kept them compartmentalized, and now they're all telling on her. They're turning into whistleblowers. What are they going to do? I think their whole system is crumbling.